We'll have your intervention. But your intervention is a specialist intervention. I just want us to get a thought before we have that intervention. Mr. Dara, could you tell us, you've heard what Professor Toh has shared with us. Give us an understanding, a sense of what the problem really is. We've seen clashes with people that they claim are moving from Nasarawa State to Benue State, and some of these situations we saw in Plateau State. This particular issue has actually gone into the National Assembly, and there are discussions on it. Give us a sense of what exactly is the problem, who are these people, and what in this world could they be looking for, and their yearnings.
Well, thank you. You know, I pointed out earlier that the problem is a bit complex and we should avoid simplistic analysis or solutions. For instance, it is correct that Boko Haram is a religious organization, but what created the Boko Haram phenomenon is the neglect of education of the children of northern Nigeria. It is a tragedy that if in the whole world up to 10 million children are out of school, and nearly 7 million of all those children are in northern Nigeria alone, something is wrong with us. We are behind even Afghanistan. We are behind war-torn countries in the education of our children. And now we are reviving what had been a long-known solution, that we could marry Western education with Islamic education and create an opportunity for our Muslim children to become professionals and skilled people who could be employed. Northern Nigeria neglected that for so many years, and you'll be asking, we should be asking ourselves, why? Where were the elites when this problem was building up? The issue of Fulani herdsmen, again, is part of leadership failure. We know that Fulani men are nomadic. At a point, we started nomadic education to create opportunity for their children. But beyond that, we should ask ourselves, what did other nations that have this kind of problem do to solve it? Canada had a similar problem not too long ago, and they were able to create grazing reserves and also create ranching. Start ranching. So why is it that we are always the last to embrace improved methods of doing things? Fulani men will be richer if we modernize our pastoral farming. Fulani children will be more powerful, more influential if they marry Islamic education with Western education. But instead of that, many of the northern leaders are preoccupied with struggling for positions that benefit only the elites. So I believe we've played the ostrich about the problems of northern region for too long. And the time has come for us to face up to the fact that our negligence has created chaos around us. And we need to humbly accept responsibility and in such a way that we can immediately bring it under control. For instance, it shouldn't be difficult to create low-cost schools and put our children back into school. But instead of that, people are saying, oh, we want president, governor, we want senator. Now, these are elitist diversions. Our problems need to be addressed, and they should be addressed with a sense of urgency. And we should stop pretending that it is federal government that has to do it. It is northern leaders that need to solve the problems of northern Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dara. Captain Umar, you have listened to Professor Toa and Mr. Dara, and they thought about the situation. I mean, you and I, we've discussed so much about the northeastern region problem and some of the Boko Haram issues, the intrigues. But this time around, this is a different ball game entirely. What do you make of it?
Well, before I say anything, I just want to make a position clear. I don't see education as being Western or Eastern. Education is education is education. For crying out loud, if you go into the history of education, numerology, algebra, astrology, they all have their roots in the endeavors of Arab scholars. If you go into the academics like history, you start hearing names like Ibn Battuta and the rest. So for us to start appending education to cardinal points is somewhat a bit, comic. Education is education, regardless of south, west, north, or east. It's about individuals and getting them to know things. And even the religion, Islam, if you go into the history of Islam and the revelation of the Quran, the first thing that was told to the Prophet, the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was read. And he said, I cannot read. And thereupon, he was ordained the ability to read. Now, having said that, I want to enter the issue of Boko Haram from just one perspective. You see, the undoings or the doings of our leaders over 3 long decades are just giving us feedback in what you see today as our security challenges. Now, talking about security from the perspective of a security enthusiast, I'll tell you that terrorism, as we see in Borno State today, has just arrived. Over the years, Borno has been there. What you can glean from it, if you take a dispassionate position, is terrorism doesn't thrive where there is contentment. Terrorism doesn't thrive where there is what? Unity. Terrorism doesn't thrive where there is responsible governance. What the terrorist does is to actually look for those incubative areas that have certain traits. And when they get these areas, they go and woo what I call the oppressed or the perceived oppressed class and give them that which they feel they cannot get from their home governments or their localities. And that is what? Power, a voice to be heard. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Now, going deeper into the issue of Borno State, I recall sometime in the army, I was privileged to have been nominated to attend a course. And that course was meant to give us skill sets. I didn't end up attending anyway, events overtook that. But that course was supposed to give us the skill sets to handle a problem that was still Maiduguri based. You see, Boko Haram, we used to know were suicide bombers. Today they have changed. They are no longer suicide bombers per se, but they are plunderers. They attack locations. That's not going to say they are not Boko Haram. But let's cast our minds back and think of the modus operandi of today's attacks. Way back, sometime in the 90s, late 90s, there was a group called the Janjaweed. They used to attack people from as far as Maiduguri, through Beneshek, through Bauchi, through Jos. They come in and they do a lot of bloody work. They don't spare anyone.
Up to Toro.
Up to Toro. They take anything. They take children, they take food, they take vehicles, they take anything. They were plunderers. The design, the modus operandi, the fight temperament of the people we are seeing today is more of Janjaweed inclined than the Boko Haram we used to know.
Okay, even, the Boko Haram more or less relevant to the northeast, but for the north central, what exactly it is from a military point of view?
From the north central, I look at it and I say, what you are seeing in the north central today is just what I want to call a cycle of deceit. People are jumping on these ethno-religious, expansionist, territorial acquisition things to forward their selfish, what you call, agendas. Look, when I was a boy, it used to be Benue Plateau, a combination of Benue, Plateau, and Nasarawa states of today. The same people, they lived there. But you see, our leaders have left the land to fallow. They've left so much undone. Those undoings are what we see physically in our security challenges. These people, 20 years ago, way back into the late 70s, were not as many as they are today. Don't forget, the Nigerian land space is not growing, but the population is growing. It takes you 70 years on the average, or probably 50 life expectancy to expire, and just 270 days to create one person. So if we create people every 9 months, and it takes an average of 50 years for one person to go, you can imagine what the population pressures will be by now. Our leaders didn't think about that. What we need to address this now is state craftsmanship.
Okay.